Well, it looks like I'm live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday lunchtime's entertainment channel. No, it's not quite an entertainment channel, it's the educational channel. So I've got Andy in the background. I'll leave him there for a minute because it's where he deserves to be.
Thank you very much.
Have a quick talk about what I'm going to do today and why I'm going to do it. I'm using up odd bits of wood. There's the first two projects, both the same. All I've done is drilled a hole through and counterbored, which will be the bottom. That will be two cord pulls. So I'll do them first because then I can show you how I finish with a CA. And then we've got a piece of what was pallet wood, which will be a dibber. And then I'm going to do a little mini rolling pin. And if we have time afterwards, I will probably do a mini dibber, which Sue uses for pricking out the seedlings as they gradually appear. So the first project will be the square of, and for you aficionados out there that want to know, it is 40mm square. It is 2 3/4 inches long.
I like your mixed measurements.
Yep. So what have I done? I've got a 3mm hole all the way through. You can just see the light coming through it there. And in what is the bottom, I've drilled a 6mm hole. So I'm going to swap cameras so that, he said if the mouse works, it should be that one, which it is. So what have I got? I've got a light pull drive, cord pull drive, whatever you want to call it. Now, before you put any drive in, I've just taken off the taken off the chuck. Make sure there's no crap in there before you drop it in. For the tailstock, I've got a 60mm grind rather than a 30mm. So I find this flatter point is
60
better.
degree.
Yeah, is better for anything like this where you're going to put a little bit of weight against it. Then you're not going to wedge open the wood as its end grain. So without further ado, I will start spinning this, put some safety glasses on. Andy can go through the chat, read out who's in the chat. I'm going to turn on dust extractor, which you shouldn't hear. So, right, it's just to prove that he's here. Oh God, there he is.
Hello, everyone. I am here.
He's here.
I do exist.
He does exist. He's not just a figment of my imagination.
Yeah.
So
Got back safely from Cheshire.
I'll put me on full screen. Andy's in the background, and welcome one and all, but I don't know who's in the chat yet. Full speed, and away we go.
Right, okay.
Over to you, Andy.
Thank you. Looking at the participants list, it says there are only about 7 people in, so I won't be using that. Darren Callison was first in. Sid's repurposing just after him. They've been in for a little while, and I did have a little chat with them. Tommy's Workshop, Lawrence Bugasia. Tommy's Workshop again, Circular Wood by Keith. Well, we all hope he's here.
Yeah.
Hello, what's going on here? Oh, that's better, got it. Doug Miller, Chris Dodds, Paul Heighton, Terry Hooper, hello Terry, Wivy Woodshed, hello Andrew, Robbo, good day Robbo, and I've lost my place, it's jumped, oh here we are, Greg Alexander, Neil M, Woodworm Paul, Clint Wood Dancers, the Linnykins. Hello, Linny.
Hi, kiddo.
Done it again. Here we are. That's better. Rob CP. Hello, Rob. David J. Heath, the Guildford Carpenter. Jennifer's Craft and Creations. Hello, Jennifer. Jennifer Stroughton. And that's it.
That's it.
So,
welcome
everybody.
Thank you for coming over for today's entertainment. No, it's education. We're not an entertainment channel. So I can get right down to the metal without touching it by carefully adjusting it. So to start with, roughed it down with my baby roughing gouge, spindle roughing gouge, and I'm on now to 1/2 inch spindle gouge, and I only use basically one style for my cord pulls. It's a shape that sells. It's nice and simple. Has to be for me. But, just refine it. So there's the shape I'm going for. Drop the volume down a bit. Find a bit of 120 grit paper.
Sorry, my YouTube went dead on me. I'll put it back again.
You're very quiet, mate. Can you put your mic down?
Yes, I can. Is
Good.
that better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry, I was just fighting the computer. I lost YouTube completely. I don't know where it went. I've got it back again, so we're all right.
Right.
It obviously was only me, not everybody else. That was more my concern.
Sid's saying cord pulls won't sell there. Well, don't make them then. Yeah, don't make them. It's simple, Sid. But,
unless you can think of another use for them, but
they certainly sell well over here. So that's 120. That's 240. This is a lump of yew. It was an offcut from something else. So it sands well. And just to finish it off, I've got a second-hand bit of 500, but it's still moving dust, so that's good enough. Give that a quick polish. Right. Now, I use loo roll to put my CA on with, and I've worked out that kitchen roll is too abrasive, or too absorbent, so I use loo roll, which isn't quite so bad. So it's folded 3, 4, 5 times, which gives me 12 bits of paper there. So with a medium tip it that way, medium CA, with the lathe on low, a couple of drips on the paper, and then drip it on as you wipe it on. And walk away and leave it for a few seconds.
Robert Dolman's in.
High one and all. So just need that to flash off a piece. It will go slightly dull as it cures. Not worried about that, because the last thing we were doing today will be putting this on the buffing wheel. So while that dries off, this is the next piece. It's again a piece of yew, well and truly oval. Again, it's been drilled, been counterbored, so the bottom is the counterbored part, and there's 3 little branches there which should give it a little bit of character. So ease that off carefully, put that to one side until that is dried. Remount this. Making sure everything's locked down. There is a small shake, dry and shake there. I'm not worried about that.
Gav Sedai Woodwork is in.
Hello, Gav. Hello, everybody. Sorry I haven't spoken to you all in person, but you're all very welcome. Too close. Now, I haven't got a camera that will show you, but you can just about see that. The handle is right down by my pocket. It's not level. These are ground at 45 degrees. The same with all my chisels. And I do occasionally double check them. Don't know whether I've set that up, whether you can actually see the marks on there. You can just about read it off through there. But believe me, that says 45 degrees. And if I was to put that on a spindle gouge, that would read exactly the same, 45 degrees. So carefully get this to round. Once the friction's grabbed it, it will spin a lot easier.
Malcolm Douglas is in.
Hello, Malcolm. This was quite oval to start with, but it's surprising how quick you can get it into round. So like I say, the handle is right down by my side. I'm rubbing the bevel, I'm lifting the handle, there's the cut. There's so many people I see going in level, and I'm not moving the tool rest, so I rest it on my finger. They're going in level and they're scraping there. And they're wondering why they're only getting little chips off. Put it on the tool rest, run it along, you get a far easier, quieter, safer cut. Same shape as last time. I'll just elongate it. So using the spindle roughing gouge as the major source of removing wood. Make the torpedo shape. I always do mine exactly the same way round. Second nature. I know exactly what I'm doing. The muscle memory is there. Come in, just stop shy of the metal. Come down and do the bottom. Swing it right round. Bevel's rubbing all the way. There we are. As long as you don't get cramp in your thumb, which I seem to be doing a little bit more often than not now. Bevel rubbing, picking up the cut. You shouldn't be able to cut uphill. That's uphill. I can just go a little way, just to give me the bottom. I won't go any further than that. I will then use the wing of the spindle roughing gouge and define my shape.
Rob from
particularly on this one.
Copperell wood turning is in.
Hello, Rob. I can feel I've got a flat on there still, just a little bit. Am I worried? Not really. They still sell like that. So back to the 80, 120. Don't need 80. Just iron out the hottest spots, tooling marks if there is any. If there's a bit missing, I'll just ramp the speed up a fraction just there. And that's the 120. This is 240. If it's not cutting like this, throw it away and get a new piece. The price of abrasive is nothing against the price of your time, the power, your energy that you use to produce a nice smooth finish. We can stop that just to double check, as it was a little bit coarse, the grain there, but that looks good. Quite happy with that. Gently go over it with a bit of 500. You can see the dust coming off the top. Let's bring you more center. It's going straight up the extractor behind me. This is a bit of foam backed. I believe it was Merca. There we are. Drop the speed right down. Bit of loo roll. One fold, two folds, three folds, four folds. And I'm finding that doesn't then absorb any of the CA, so it ends up with me sticking to the paper. So in less than 15 minutes, we've turned 2 cord pulls. I know we've still got to buff them up. That's not a major problem. But while we're letting that go off, what I'll do is I'll change in, putting a long tool rest on, because we're going to do the dibber next. And it's easier if you can run all the way along. So for the dibber, they're all the same size-ish. For you aficionados out there, this is 1 3/8 square. It is 280mm long. That doesn't give me a lot of waste. So I will take the point out and replace it with I've got a good one somewhere, a cone center, revolving cone center. That will stop the coarse wood splitting. That out of there now.
One or two comments about your habits with loo paper.
Right, that's
Robbo
fine.
Robbo says you're no fun because you're not sticking your fingers to it. And Chris Dodson here says, and here I was thinking Keith was a scruncher. Now you're a folder.
I'm a folder. Right. Now, we've got, could use a stab center. I could do if I could find it. Or we've got some drives. I've got an inch drive, I've got a 5/8 for spur drive, and I've got a 10mm for spur drive. The 10mm is too fine. The inch is too coarse, so I'm going for the little 5/8. I haven't marked centre. My tendency is to
Guess it.
lift it between centres and lightly spin it. You can soon judge, or you can eye it between the wood and the bed bars. I tend to do a bit of both and just tighten it up. With the baby tool rest in. So many people say you've got to have it so close. On bigger stuff, yes. On smaller stuff, it doesn't make that amount of difference. Speed up full. That's a little bit high. That's a better height. So gently take off the corners. This is where the knots are. Made it bounce out a bit, but we're back and running. For the dibbers, I use anything. And this is a very coarse lump of builder's wood. I think it was an old bearer that we used to. I think it's jumping on that knot. No, it's jumping because it's so coarse. It's not getting a good grip. But you can see the coarseness of the wood. Whether this is going to be a good idea or not, we'll soon find out. But it's a soft wood. I've just got the knots in there, which are the problem. We're down to round.
Michael McEwen is in.
Hello, Michael. Yeah, Robbo would probably be on a skew by now. But I'm not Robbo. But there's the skew. I'm only tapering the last 2.5 to 3 inches. That feels a whole lot better. Just by using a skew on it. Doesn't like those coarse knots.
No, they're hard, aren't they?
Yeah, but we're there. Now, okay. I have got an idiot stick marked up. Some idiot's left it in the other shed. Bear with me, guys. Andy will talk to you while I disappear.
Once upon a time. No, not good at telling stories. Do we all know what a dibber's for? Because that's usually the question you get asked. But I'm assuming people do. And what
Okay.
Keith's gone off for is something marked in inches, so that he can mark the depth of the hole that they're being poked in with a
Yeah,
dibber for planting
I'm,
seeds.
I'm back. I got it out the toolbox and left it there. So what have I done? I've marked 1/2 inch on the bottom and then inch increments. Don't worry about that one. So I've got a 6-inch dibber, which is 6.5 inches long. I've found that if I start my marking 1/2 inch longer, the tip will eventually get broken away. So what do? I hold the idiot stick on there. Don't worry about the first one. Square to the wood. And if you don't go square to the wood, or if you twist the skew, you will end up putting a screw thread on it. Ideal for the heavy clays that we get around this area, but not as pretty as it could be. So that is now marked off in inch increments. God, Andy, where did you put it?
Oh yeah, it's
Not,
behind you.
it's not. It's not over there. I
Oh,
moved it
okay.
just now. Yeah.
Felicity is in. Hello, Flick.
Hi, Flick. Don't tidy up just as you're about to go live. Okay, we'll use this one then. Right. A burning wire. Threaded through a hole in a dowel and taped so that the end doesn't burn. Always start on the fine end. Now each time I burn, I'm pulling it through an extra 1/2 inch so that the hot end gradually works its way down. If I was to go along burn, 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 I can end up burning the wire through. So you put it on in a different place each time, so you're basically on cold wire. Oh, I found it. It was over there. You were wrong, Andy.
I
Wasn't
usually am.
behind me. It's to the side of me.
Okay.
So just get rid of the high bits on there. 240. Now we're going to put a handle on it. Generates from sawdust, this stuff. Going to put a cove in there. You all know how to do coves, because the Australian legend Robbo himself has told you how to do it. You work to the bottom. Doesn't need to be too good. And then we're going to look to see where those knots are and if I can avoid them. I can if I come back to about there. I'll just put a mark on that, which I can see. I'm going to start to form the top of the handle. Just roll in a fairly big bead. Before I get any further, Robbo's favourite tool. Just going to take this down. So that's now to the bottom of the cove that we had on there. Just
Andy Best has just nipped in for a peek.
right. Just put a bit of paper on there just to clean it up. And now the delicate pieces. I'm going to gradually work down with the long point of the skew. If you don't feel confident in using the long point, don't use it. You can use the spindle gouge. Now for the other end, I'm going to get down a lot finer. I'm not looking at a massive point on this. I'm just looking at getting down to something that still holds it. So we're down to 1 mil or a 1/16 of an inch. Now if this needs sanding, sand it now, because there's only a 1/16 of an inch both ends. The last bit I cut, and that shows you how much was holding it. Just a little bit of wood there, which decided that it didn't want to be sanded. So turn off there. Bit of 240 in your hand. Take the nib off. Take the point off. A dibber. When I sell these, I tend to say to the people, right, if you've got some old engine oil, cooking oil, anything like that, just toss it in a bath of, or toss this into a bath of it, turn it round for a couple of weeks. Soft wood, it will all soak in, it'll last a lot longer. So, one dibber. Finished. We can put that one to bed. But all of this is out of rubbishy old wood with no good value to any of it. That'll do. We've got a bit of maple. I best measure it because I know what you lot are like. It's inch square, 7 inches long. The size of it is irrelevant, really. So retract the tailstock a bit, bring it up, lock it off, and aim for center so that you can maximize it. If you wished, you could go from corner to corner, you could draw a cross in it, you could pinpoint it. It's an extra movement that I don't think is necessary on small bits like this. So we're going to make a little mini rolling pin. Now there's a bit of a story behind these. Long before the advent of no plastic or cutting down on plastic, all of our supermarkets used to give you plastic bags. Now to carry more than 2 in one hand was a little bit like torture because the plastic bag, the handle cut in your hand. So I'd seen somewhere someone saying, oh, we made a handle, a support for the carrier bag. So I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So found, well, it's actually round at the time because it was an old broom handle. So there's a little bit of a lump there. So I went out, put it in the lathe, cut off about 6-7 inches, put it in the lathe, spun it up, polished it up. And I thought, well, yeah, you've got to now have a proper end to it to stop the carrier bags falling off. So in the good old days, what we used to do is we used to run the parting tool in. Couple of cuts like that. Just put a little bit of a dome on there. And if you can imagine one replicated the other end of the wood, that was a carrier bag handle. Fitted your hand, easy. Got plenty of room. Then someone said, oh, they're not very comfortable because they're parallel. I thought, okay. So then I put a curve on it. That worked well. I sold quite a few of those. And then all of a sudden, oh, you can't use plastic bags any longer. Oh, that's a bit of a bind. So my carrier bag handles were coming up to being defunct now. So we had a rethink. So what do we come up with? We come up because someone said, oh, they would make good Play-Doh rollers if they were parallel. So we're now back to the parallel that we did start with as a Play-Doh roller. You can't win in this wood turning game. Whatever you do is not quite right for someone. So we had Play-Doh rollers. I sold loads of them to the new mums. I didn't finish them at all. I just touched them with a bit of paper and said, right, that's it. So all I'm going to do on here is just part this through because you don't need that end piece. We have a Play-Doh roller. And then someone came in and said, oh, have you finished that with anything? So I said, no. Oh, good. Why? That would be just right as a marzipan roller. So then it developed into a marzipan roller. And then someone come in and bought one and said, oh, I'll use that for rolling out my icing sugar. So now I don't finish them. I generally do them in maple like this one is, or sycamore, and sell them like that. A long-winded history, but you develop things as you need to. So that was going right the way through.
Yeah, Robbo says he used to supply an educational supplier as Play-Doh rollers.
Yep. It's surprising what people want and how we end up adapting them accordingly, which is no problem to me. So get rid of this big beast. Get that out of the way. Put Chucky on.
Darren says, with small items like this, when I'm using up scraps, I will often fit them on a slight angle, so the grain is no longer parallel to the bed. So when cut, the grain is on a skew, adds some nice interest.
Yeah, you take away a bit of the strength though.
Yeah.
By doing that. The only bit I didn't find is the bit I want next, but I think I've got some. Yep. Right. Chuck jaws on, gripper jaws, bit of, well, it was 2" before it was planed, now it's 1 7/8 just above. So that will hold in the jaws, and it is is 5 inches long. So that will give me 2 now. You mill the middle down to suit you get a thickness in roller. Yep, you can do, Darren. Exactly the same. I've left fatter ends on some that have been specifically asked for. Can you leave a 3/16 of an inch end, or the end 3/16 of an inch fatter, which I've done, and they've then rolled their icing sugar out, marzipan out to the correct depth. Nice easy job. Again, just knock it down to round. Is there any questions in the chat? Seems to have been very quiet today.
No, it's quiet, isn't it?
Everyone watching. Right.
A little bit of, looks as though Gav might have got rid of his tickets for
good.
wizardry. So good. Jennifer. But no, very short on questions. I think
must be doing something either right or exceptionally wrong. I can see 35 watching me. So take it down to a point. Still a little bit of a flat there, I can feel. Surprised now how good these digital calipers are for detecting a flat. I'm not speed turning it like Robbo does. I tend to go a bit finer than what Robbo showed us, because we have a tendency to give these to kids. Just sand the shaft as I've got a bit of paper here. Probably wasn't necessary.
Well, Benjamin's in.
Stand by your beds, everyone. There'll be trouble.
He says, I'm sorry I'm early.
One top, followed by a second one. If you wanted to tart these up, you can do. While it's on the lathe, before you part it off, felt tip pen. If you don't feel confident, the other method of using is a parting tool. I find there's a lot more sanding involved in doing it this way. Consequently, I don't, but you can do it this way. No one says the way I do it is the only way to do it. Just a quick sand on the shaft, because you need it relatively splinter free, because your fingers are on it. In trailing mode, it is just about cutting. There's no weight on the wood. Well, there is, but I'm pushing it towards the tailstock, if anything. And there's a bit of 120. Not sure you can actually see much difference apart from the one that's taken off with the gouge is shiny. The one that's taken off with the parting tool isn't. So 2 tops done 2 separate ways, but usually put those out for the kids to come along and grab, and they usually put a donation in their pot. So it's a good money making one. Yeah, there's many different ways, Darren, of doing the spinning tops. If you're giving them away like I do, it's the cheapest method and the quickest method. If you're going to be selling them, you can do whatever you like, however you like. Yeah, jazz them up a bit. But as these will go in a basket, all I do is put a sanding disc on, touch the top, job done, and the kids can decorate them and get through. Well, we have got through over 1,000 a year just by having them on the counter and letting the kids. Mum, can I have one?
Yeah.
How much are they? And you say it's a total donation. 9 times out of 10, we can get £1 in the pot. And you think, well, it's not worth £1, but if that's what you want to put in, that's fine with us. So they go away happy.
A perennial toy. Kids have always loved tops, haven't they?
Yep. And it's a good way of getting rid of scraps of wood.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, buffing time.
So this is a big 8-inch wheel, or it was. It's a little bit less now. It was sold as a 40 mil. Well, it's 2 20 mils put together, or three smaller ones put together. But, 15. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it was, but that's what we've got. Tool rest out the way, locked out of position. Buffing compound.
Robbo says so have adults enjoyed spinning tops forever. Yep, you're quite right, Robbo.
I use this one. This is Vonax. VONAX. Readily available in the UK. I would think it is worldwide. It's very slightly waxy. It was designed for plastics. Works well for what I'm going to do with it on wood. Yeah. There's our first cord pull. Just a little bit on the very base, which has gone. Yeah. So you can see how partly shiny it is, non-shiny it is. On the lathe, maximum lick, little bit of Vonax on there, not a massive amount, and I always do the top first. But
do you know what's in the Vonex wax? Is it carnauba or something similar?
No, there's no carnauba in there.
Right.
It's a very mild cutting compound because you would normally use it on plastics.
On plastics, yep. Right, I'm with you.
I'm putting no weight against the wheel. I'm just keeping it moving. Unfortunately, I can't get the camera any further back. But what I'm going to do...
Pete Twisted Trees is in.
Hello, Pete. Right. The amount of times I've buffed my knuckles on it. There's the shiny side. There's the non-shiny side. So go over it. You can bring it up. Sometimes I will put a separate pad on, separate wheel on, and run Canuber on top of this. I do find on pens it gives a warmer feel, but as these 90% of the time will be located in a damp atmosphere like the bathroom or the toilet, the very light plastic coating that we have put on there and now buffed up, you can see the shine on that. What did that take? It took about just over half an hour drying and less than 5 minutes, couple of minutes on the wheel. So there's the second one. Very dull, but just a little bit quick wipe. Like I say, I always do the top first. Don't know why, but I always have done. Just light pressure, keep it moving, and then do underneath the top. It does polish up your nails quite well if you get close enough. Keep it moving so that you don't burn it. It's the friction of the cutting compound against me lightly holding it against it is spinning it on its own. But I'm quite confident in putting these into bathroom, shower rooms, toilets, and the finish remaining there. If you were to finish these in Canubra wax or any other wax or any other microcrystalline finish, the dampness, steam in the air from the shower room does take the finish off. So not the best bit of wood. There's a very soft piece just there on my thumbnail. CA finish. So tell me you've tried that, Ben. Well, that's just showing off. I'm not quite sure what the comments were.
Don't tell me you tried that. Ben was suggesting the buffing walnuts perfect for getting a nice shine on your forehead. I can't imagine why you'd want to, but there we are.
No,
no. And I think the ease with which you got the shine, I think, is what Darren was talking about.
Yeah,
just showing off. Yeah, it's
no,
I love buffing things. They really come up so well.
So if I was going to, if that was a pen, because I finish nearly all my pens with CA. After I've finished with the initial buffing with the Vonax, I will put this one in the chuck, which is just a loose, dirty, loose-haired one on a 12mm stud. That will hold in the chuck, and I'll put
Canuber.
Yeah, Canuber on it, just to give it a bit of warmth. So, is anyone wanting to see anything else?
Canuber's very good for not showing fingerprints too, isn't it?
It is, but it doesn't hold up under the dampness of bathroom.
No, possibly not. It's got a very high melting point temperature.
Yeah.
So that means it doesn't melt when you touch it, which is a big plus for it. A swan's down mop, Robbo's called it.
Yeah. I think that's a cotton calico one, Robbo, which is slightly harder.
Darren's comment, now that's just showing off, was to do with how you were letting it rotate while you were buffing it.
Well, it also shows you that I wasn't holding it tight, but I was cupping it in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And the friction of the wheel coming onto it was just turning it round slightly. That is super shiny. Not quite as super shiny as this one, but really feels nice. So, do you want to see any more, guys? Have you had enough?
I'm just putting the link in for my live tonight, if that's all right, Keith.
Yeah, that's fine.
There we go.
Absolutely no problem with that at all, Andy.
Thank you.
So it's going to be
A spurtle, please, Darren says. I love seeing everyone's take on a spurtle.
Don't do many, because I don't like porridge. That's my excuse. So we're back to, this is a lot closer grain pine. Guess in the centre. After a time you get quite good and blasé about this. So I've got the cone centre on the bottom. I've got the 4-prong in the top, which would have been a stab centre if I could have found it. But someone's hidden it, so I couldn't find it. You go back over to the baby tool rest. Crank up the volume. Spin this down to round. Now the only reason I put my hand over the top is to stop it flying up. If you like it flying up so you can see what you're doing, it's not a problem. But I know where the cutting edge is, and I can stop it shooting down everywhere and just toss it on the floor where I need it.
Benjamin says, have you ever tried the termite hollowing tool, Keith?
No, not the termite, but
On
I've
Simon
got,
Hope's site.
yeah, I've got the Simon Hope one, and I've also got the Big Brother, and from down your neck of the ends, neck of the woods, Robbo, who's the New Zealand guy? Turner down there. He developed his own turning tool. As soon as you mention his name, I'll say, yeah, that's him. Quite a well-known guy. That name escapes me at the moment. No, it's not Terry Scott.
Brian Watkins has got a question. Hi, Keith. In Spain, we have some difficulty in getting some finishing products. Is carnauba wax in car turtle wax, and is it okay to use on wood?
Yes, it is in turtle wax. But I honestly wouldn't know whether you'd want to use it on wood, because there's so many other cutting ingredients in there as well. Because usually turtle wax has got a very mild abrasive come washing up liquid in there to get the crap off your vehicles. So I'm not sure I would really want that on wood. Could have started with a slightly smaller spindle if I'd have got one. Doesn't feel too bad. Fortunately, this is a close grained piece of pine. Normally I would use an ash, but you can't use what you haven't got. Go on, mate. Sorry.
Robbo's just put woodcut with a question mark after it. I'm not
Roly
quite sure.
Munro.
Roly Munro, he's written now.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. That's the guy. I've got one of his. Not the easiest I've found to set up. When it is set up, it works quite well, but I've not been overly successful with it.
Steve Scott's just come in. First time here for a long time, he says.
Hi, Steve. It's a name I recognise from someone local. Now again, I wouldn't finish this at all, which is why I would use predominantly ash. Because you're going to be stuffing it into hot oats and stirring it. Normally make this a little bit finer, but for all intents and purposes,
Pete Twisted Trees, Pete is giving a comment. He says he finds spurtles in this part of the world are generally viewed as sticks by puzzled people.
Yep.
There are so many variations, aren't there?
Yep. Yep.
And we have some down at Amberley at the museum that one of our guys makes. They're a bit like a wooden spoon with the middle cut out of the spoon part.
Right.
So it's just a wooden ring, if you like.
More of a pasta spoon.
Spaghetti. No, it's more. It's a stirrer.
Spaghetti spoon.
Sort of, yeah. But I mean, there's so many variations, aren't there?
Yeah. Right. This is the bit where you see how close you can get to it not being held at all. It's about 1 mil that end. I always quite like this, particularly if I'm in the workshop down there and people say, how fine can you go? Well, there, madam, is less than 1 mil. Both ends. Whether you can...
Yep, you see that end, yep.
You can just about see it, yeah.
You see it giving way, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Less than 1 mil. And that one's just broken off. So that would be my sort of take on a spurtle. And they're always apparently rounded at the bottom. I've seen some spurtles that have been pointed, and then someone's come along and say, no, you don't have a pointed spurtle because you need to stir the bottom. So it's round. So it's however you make them. That's just a piece of rubbishy old pine. But that's my take on a spurtle. And Rob's saying you don't want them to scratch. Well, that wouldn't scratch anything.
No, but it's actually pulling the burnt on or the soon to be burnt on porridge off the bottom of the pan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which you can do if it's not too pointed. Otherwise, you just draw lines in it.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of people do, Brian, put thistle tops to them. I do mine differently.
We're not Scottish.
I'm not Scottish, no. Yeah. So, any more questions, guys, or anything you're not quite sure about? I'm here anyway, so it doesn't make any difference to me. It's you 32 that are still watching.
Yes, that's quite a nice number.
What would I finish that with? I wouldn't finish it with anything, Gaz, because whatever you put on there is only going to either taint or come off with the hot porridge. If you put anything on it, it would need to be a food safe oil, basically.
Yeah. As long as you use a close grained timber,
Yep.
it's usually not a problem, is it?
No, that's why I would generally use ash.
Mm.
Ash or sycamore.
Yeah.
Because
Beech even.
yeah, as long as it's clean beech and not sported.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you need clean material for something that's going to be used for food. And bit of a by the way situation. We have down the museum some spoon carvers and archers and bits and pieces. Well, they use a lot of timber that's freshly dropped or it's been cut down very many weeks, and there's quite often a little bit of sporting started. I personally wouldn't want to use that timber for a spoon or something to stir food with.
No.
We know sporting is a fungal spore. So, do we want to be putting fungus anywhere near food? I know I don't particularly, but that's just my thought on it.
Too true.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
It's just what it is, isn't it? And
yeah.
You wouldn't deliberately add that to food.
No. Welcome, Andy. I see you're awake still.
Oh, I'm still here. Yeah.
I beat you, Darren. I was doing it as you were typing it, I think. So let's get rid of these. Oh, don't need them on to talk. So hopefully that's given you guys a little bit to think about and how you can finish and how you can make small items.
There will be some similarities tonight because I'm using odd bits of timber, and Keith will be there. So if you've got questions that you think about between now and then, bring them along by all means. Not a problem.
We can answer them even if they're not on what we're doing.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons, Darren, that I quite enjoy doing these little projects because there's no intrinsic cost involved.
Yeah.
The spurtle was, it looks like that's a bit of treated wood because as you can see there's a slight green to it. The dibber, wherever you put it, Andy.
It's always my fault.
Yeah. That was the one of the roughest bits of wood that you could ever wish for. No, that's a green piece again. It was so coarse a grain that that's a different piece. But the grain in there you can see is 5-6 mil. If I hold it up that way, you can see the grain there, how wild it is. If I black out this back one a bit, you can see the grain up here, how wide apart it is. So again, rubbishy old bits of wood, but Doesn't cost you anything.
and become quite usable.
And Tommy's saying sporting is a fungus, not a spore. The spores come from the fruiting bodies, i.e. the mushroom. Well, it's still not something I would fancy eating, Tommy, or fancy getting touched with or putting in contact with food. Um, so Andy's having a coughing fit in peace.
Yeah, I am. I did turn my sound off though. It's because I'm not wearing a mask these days. I've caught cold. But there we are.
Top job, Keith. Worth sitting up for. Oh, what else were you going to do, Sid? Apart from go to bed, and you know that gets you into trouble. Gets you a good slapping if you're not careful.
Or as Chris Dodd said, these projects also get you out of having to help the wife.
Yeah.
Very practical.
But these do sell.
Yes.
I'm not so sure about the spurtles because a long time ago, I know one of us makes them down there. And I know they're made in the Greenwood Village, but that's just rough old ash.
Yeah, I've
Never
never tried to
finished.
sell them, so.
No.
Good.
So Darren's asking Sid if he's up in time for yours tonight, Andy. You're on at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, yep. It's our time. And there's something like six hours different or something, aren't they?
Yeah, tell us what you're going to be doing then, mate. I know you put the link in.
There's a picture of Christmas trees, and I have a variety of bits and pieces of timber sitting here ready. I'm not sure what I'm going to be using yet because I should be working out an old chair leg, bit of mahogany. That'll make some nice Christmas trees. A little bit of yew. I've just been raiding my scrap bin. Bit of yew. That's quite a lot of scrap there. Yeah. That one, I'm not quite sure what it is. It could be Paduke. It's the camera doesn't show it very well. It's much more red than it looks there. And there's ash. I've got some ash, Keith.
Right. Yeah, a bit short for a spurtle though. And Baz has just joined us. Afternoon, Baz.
I've got some long bits as well.
Yeah, I know.
I actually bought some for doing my snowmen's hats.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'll just be doing sort of baubles and Christmas trees, Christmas decorations, basically.
Christmas decorations, yeah.
Could do a bauble with a spin with a finial or something. You know, we'll play it by ear as we go along. I've just prepared these blanks. I should put a chucking point on them, and then we can sling whichever one we want on the lathe when we want.
So it might be a viewer's decision, some of it as well.
Could be, yes, could be.
Yeah, I mean it's you're only trying to test. Yeah, you're only trying to test us because we say we can more or less turn anything. It's having the wood cut to size before we start.
Baz, real simple things. It's just come in. Sorry, later inconsiderate recovery truck came for replacement winch cable and can't tell the time.
Yeah, yeah, lunchtime. So who's on next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, that's the 19th, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm doing lunchtime.
You're doing lunchtime, right?
Yeah, and you're doing Scott's Thursday if he's not doing it.
Yeah, we're still not sure whether Scott's going to be doing that next. But we can chop and change. It's not a problem to us.
I have to look at the list because we change it all the time.
Yeah,
but it keeps it interesting because you never know what's going to happen.
At least we got one of us on.
Yeah. Well, both of us.
Or both of us at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it was only last week I missed. Darren did a very nice job. Thank you, Darren.
Yes, there's been one or two comments I've seen that appreciated what you did, Darren. Thank you. I appreciate it anyway. And now you've got a spanner for me as well, so you can block people and ban them from YouTube.
Yes, I think that's about it as far as the chat's concerned.
Yeah, the chat's gradually dropping off. So thank you all guys for coming over and watching. And one or two questions. I must have been doing something right because there was no questions today. But
Not too many. No,
no,
they were just more technique type questions
mm,
than anything else.
yeah,
No, it's good. It's fine. It
we
works,
can't
doesn't it?
we can't all make bowls all of the time, or we
Oh,
can.
I wouldn't want to,
No, no, it
if I'm
gets
honest.
boring.
Yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed the last two lives that I did with the outside, and then following it up
That
with
was
a
a bit
second one.
special, that bowl, wasn't
Yep,
it? Yeah,
yep.
it was very nice.
Not sure what I'm going to do next time. We'll find something. Uh, it might even be just a straightforward question and answer evening because they seem to go down quite well. That means I can sit indoors
Mhm.
in the warm then, rather than come down into a cold old shed.
Oh, turn the
Uh,
heater on.
yeah, so did I first.
To hell with the cost.
Yeah, Robbo's put
Gaz,
on real turn in. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Very
Gaz,
little sanding involved.
Gaz Glass has got to go now. Hopes to catch us all later at my demo.
Yep.
Good, well done,
So
Gaz. See you silver foxes next time. We
yeah,
can't help that. It's just the way it grew.
yeah, yeah. Mine's grown through the front somehow.
Yeah.
Uh, well, it's you guys that keep us coming back.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, Steve's playing snooker tonight,
Playing
so he won't
snooker,
see
well,
it.
that's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be up there. You can see it anyway.
You'll
So
catch it tomorrow, Steve. Anyway.
amazing how
Uh,
many people do too. When I watched
yeah.
yours, just not long after you'd done it, there were I forget 200 and something views
Yeah. It
of
doesn't take
yours.
long to crank
Something
it
like
up,
no,
does it?
amazing how quickly it goes up. Yeah.
Yeah. By the time I probably get indoors now and kick on the computer indoors, there's probably going to be 60 up there.
Yeah.
Already watched it. It's
It is
amazing where they
amazing.
come from. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite encouraging though.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
So if you don't look at it, you'd never know, would you? But,
No. No.
so I like to go back over what I've done just to learn lessons from it, get it
Mm.
right next time. But
That or you missed a comment, which is quite
yes,
easily done.
yes. Oh yes, it
Um,
is. Yeah.
I know I've missed them and or missed the meaning of it. Yeah, a
There's a
snooker
there's
cue
a
is not going to happen.
I did a oh god, what do you call it? Croquet croquet mallet, the
Right.
4 foot handle. I was really chuffed with it. It turned out extremely well.
But a snooker cue has got to be balanced, and generally speaking, they
It's a
use
little bit more specialist, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And you've got to be able to take it apart and join it together again, haven't you? If you're going to carry it around.
mm,
So,
yeah.
but
Snooker
no,
cue extension is not quite so critical because the weight balance is
yeah.
your end of it.
But the no, the croquet mallet was interesting because it was
Mm,
so long. I did use a steady on that because it's very thin. I've still got the offcut sitting in
pair of
my
them,
wardrobe.
Baz.
Sorry, go on.
It's all right. You can see. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
need to explain it. A pair of them spinning tops. Uh, a stirrer, a bit like you, mate, but this is for porridge. A spurtle. My interpretation of a spurtle. Uh,
bye, Robbo.
yeah. Cheers, Robbo. A pair of earrings, or we use them as cord pulls this end of the world, but know what you're like, Baz. And what else did I make? Oh, a mini um,
A rolling pin.
icing, yeah, mini
Yeah,
rolling pin for either Play-Doh or icing sugar or marzipan. Works on all three. And the
or
final
carrying
thing,
shopping bags. Yeah,
yeah, and the final thing was a dibber, or possibly for you, Baz, a heart steak. So
Bernie,
we done,
Bernie.
yeah, we done quite a bit today. So something different, something that you can all make. You need the practice. Grab a small piece of wood. You saw how easy it was to turn the spinning top. They don't need to be quite as big as that. We can make them a bit smaller. You saw the branch that started off with, quite oval. Hardest job is actually drilling the hole in the middle. So small bits of wood don't get thrown away. I cut them to make sure they're the right size, and then I throw the ends away. So SIDS off. Yeah, it was busy, but not a frantic one, Bez.
There's sort of
It was an
something
easy one.
relaxing
Yeah,
about making small things, isn't there?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So SIDS off. Darren's good practice pieces. So I'm going to escape now. So I'm going to say thank you, one and all. Thank you, Andy, for
Bye,
worming
everybody.
for me.
No problem
And
at all.
bye, everybody. And see you in Andy's tonight, hopefully.
Yep, that'd be nice.